The Fanfiction Power Hour is a comedy podcast between friends that does not attempt straightforward readings. The links to the fanfictions are in the description if you would prefer an unaltered experience and to support the authors by giving the stories a like.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Jen and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. I am your host for tonight, Wizzy Puff, joined as always by my co-host, the lovely Jen.
Hello, everybody. I am Jen Reaper. How are you today? They can't answer me.
I think they're probably doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I'd have to say that everyone listening to this is going to be either already having a good time or having a good time in a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But probably not, actually, because tonight we are going to be doing a double feature of tragedy stories.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I misled them.
Oh, shit. Tragedy?
Yeah, sorry to bring everyone down.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But it will be featuring everyone's favorite alicorns, Celestia and Luna.
Oh.
I really hope that you guys weren't expecting me to say Cadence.
I mean, it's fine. I like Celestia. She's cool. Okay. Well, I'm prepared to not cry.
Oh, well, I guess that's the challenge for tonight.
Yep.
I still have not cried at any of these fics. I'm going to say it. I have not cried at any of these fics on the podcast.
But off of the podcast?
I'm so strong.
Yeah, Wizzy's a big, manly man.
I'm like a brick wall. That's why they call me Manly Puff. And if any of you guys want to challenge yourselves not to cry, then you should probably go into the description, click the link, and read this for yourself. Because I have a feeling that we're going to make it kind of difficult to cry to this story.
I disagree. I think we're going to make it very easy because we're so good at our jobs.
Oh, you think this is going to be a serious one, huh? You think we're not going to be making any jokes? You think we're just going to do this one like straightforward?
Yeah, I think so. And you want to know why I think so?
Why?
Because it's so late and I want to get to bed. I don't want to stay up making jokes.
That's a good reason.
God.
No one likes doing that.
Oh.
All right. Then we should probably get into A Cleansing Tale by Karakaz. Now, this is going to be our fourth tragedy fic so far, or fifth?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think
you had mentioned 3 that we had read before, so...
Yeah, but who knows how many we've actually read.
Yeah, it's a tag that's reserved for only the most tragic stories, and then the one Portal fanfic crossover that we read.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope you're all prepared to cry tonight. Chapter 1.
The only chapter.
It's not fair.
Princess?
I look up from the stack of documents that, I swear, seems higher now than when I started going through them. Twilight, my faithful student, is standing in the doorway. At 13 years old, she's already more powerful than most sages I've known in my time, and she's still developing. In place of the excited smile she usually greets me with, however, sits an emotionless frown, a mixture of what looks like shock and sadness that she doesn't know how to deal with. Hello, Twilight. I put the remaining documents down and beckon her into the room. I can't stand to see her sad, so with my next question, I start prying at the seams of her emotional state, trying to get to the core of what's bothering her, like I've done hundreds of times already. What is the matter?
My grandmother died,
she replies sorrowfully. That was easier than expected, though not entirely without cause. I'm sorry to hear that, Twilight. The next question, for it is always the next question whenever some pony talks to me of death, is the one I dread most. Even for all my power and knowledge, death does not parley with the living, no matter how much we wish that it would.
Princess, why does life have to be so unfair?
A bit of a whine creeps into her voice, but the fact that she hasn't asked me what I was expecting is enough to add several seconds to my response time. What do you mean, Twilight? She looks down at the floor, as though the words she's looking for drift among the melancholy she exudes in spades.
She fell over an oven lid and broke one of her legs, and they said that's what killed her.
She stamps a hoof on the floor in a flurry of anger.
It's not fair. I broke my leg last year and I was fine. Why'd she have to die?
Man, what a horse way to go out.
Yep. It just cocked the shotgun.
Grandma. Explaining death to any pony is a difficult prospect in and of itself. On top of that, the younger and more intelligent the pony you're explaining it to, the less willing they are to accept any given answer. Because it was her time flits across my mind as an explanation, and I shoot it down just as swiftly. That never helps. Because life is fragile, Twilight. And your grandmother was old. It's not much, but it's the best explanation I can give. She looks up, ears perked. But rather than acceptance, her anger grows.
You're old.
Got her!
Fucking annihilation.
She read her like a book.
Get fucked, Celestia.
She exclaims, stamping her hoof again.
Much older than my grandmother was.
I put a thin smile of sympathy on my face. Losing ponies you care about is difficult. Even more so the first time it happens. And the sad part is that it does not get any easier with each subsequent one. You learn to deal with it. You move on because you have to. But it will always hurt. If you could, would you have traded my life for hers?
Oh, what a question.
Seriously.
Like,
oh man, she's
Celestia,
only
what
13 too.
What's she doing with this, Celestia? Like, that's the thing that I think to myself whenever consoling people. Well, trying to. I'm bad at that, but it's not like something I ever think about actually asking. It seems a bit mean. Like you're putting someone on the spot.
Oh, that's what she says.
Yeah, but still, you're like 1 billion years old. Why are you so bitter?
Let's let her explain herself. I'm sure that she has a good reason. She's Celestia.
Better.
It's a mean question of me to ask, but if I want to help her get through this, she needs to think about it rather than just react. I would much rather draw her close, hold her with my hooves and my wings while she cries into my coat, and lets the sadness of it all bring her some peace. Which brings me to notice the fact that she hasn't shed a single tear, not since she arrived at any rate. It's possible that she cried earlier, but no, her eyes don't look puffy or red. As expected, my words take the wind right out of her sails, and her ears droop when most of her anger leaves her.
No.
She replies tersely, as if she has to force herself to say it. I let out a deep sigh and shake my head. Come, Twilight, sit down. She does as instructed, with a mechanical stiffness to her movements. That's when I realized my protege was replaced with a robot!
Oh my god.
This went in a completely different direction.
Well.
She does as instructed with a mechanical stiffness to her movements, and sits down far away from me, her current antagonist in her quest to make the world seem fair. She still hasn't shed a tear, or even sniffed. It is being supplanted by anger. There's too much left, and it doesn't all fit into so small a pony. So little a pony, one might say. Can you tell me about your grandmother? I hear myself ask before I've even thought through the possible reactions.
She was the greatest. She was always nice and had nicknames for every pony. Me and Shiny loved listening to her stories about her youth and all the adventures she'd had.
Twilight smiles a little, though it's more sad than anything else.
They weren't really. She was never any good with magic, and in her stories, she levitated and teleported and
She peters out before taking a deep breath.
and she was the best cook in all of Equestria. Whenever she invited us over for dinner, she'd spend entire days in the kitchen and make the best lily roast just for me. Not for you, Shiny. Shut the fuck up.
What is a lily roast?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably a flower thing because they're horses.
Oh, yeah, there's one pony named Lily something, and yeah, we roasted her. She was delicious.
Right.
I smile at her, futile though it may be. She sounds like a lovely mare. Her shoulders tense, and her ears flatten against her skull. More tense than before she started talking about her grandmother. Not the response I was hoping for, but then that's what generally happens when I don't think my questions through, isn't it?
She was, but now she's gone.
Twilight says, retreating into her anger, where she doesn't have to feel the pain.
It's not fair.
I want to tell her all at once, the things I've learned about dealing with pain, like the fact that anger is exactly the wrong thing to take shelter in. It twists sorrow into bitterness at the world, whereas crying can cleanse and help heal. I make it sound easy, but it isn't, especially not for those who feel that wrenching pain in their gut, threatening to tear them apart if they carry it around for any length of time. The most difficult part is knowing that the road to offering that knowledge is not a straight line. It's different for every pony, and some never accept it at all. It never is, Twilight. Even I do not know what to say sometimes. This is one of those times, which leaves me with no other option but to sit with Twilight in silence, hopefully offering her at least some amount of comfort with my presence. Time passes more slowly when you have nothing to occupy your mind with, save for your thoughts, and so it seems like an eternity before Twilight speaks up again.
Have you ever lost any pony, Princess?
She asks, looking, if nothing else, at least a little less tense. Many, many friends. Though I have never had a grandmother or even a mother like you, Twilight.
I was born of the sun. Did you cry when they died?
She shifts towards me, becoming more curious by the syllable, though the tension remains noticeable, especially in her shoulders. She is finally looking at me again, so I reinforce my answer with my body language and nod. Every single time, but I also laughed and cheered, and sometimes I cursed them and was angry like you are. She looks herself over self-consciously before aiming her bright, intelligent eyes on me once more.
Pshoo! Laser eyes. Why?
Because grief is something difficult to deal with, Twilight. I cried because they were gone, and I loved them. Or I cursed them for leaving me all alone. Twilight's ears droop again. But I knew my friends. They wouldn't want me to just be sad because they were gone. They wouldn't want my life to end just because theirs did. They would want me to remember their silly moments and their triumphant moments. The words tumble out of my mouth now, unhindered by the thought process I usually employ to govern my speech. Sometimes words need to come from the heart. Just because they are dead doesn't mean they are gone. I will always remember them. And you only really die once you've been forgotten. Okay, I don't like that lesson. You being remembered is the only thing that matters, Twilight.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure that she meant it in like a more comforting way than I'm interpreting, but I just feel like it's easy to interpret as something that's a little more toxic, you know?
I don't know. I've just heard this a lot from like Coco and yada yada.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like it as a lesson in general, as just like, just having the memory of you be your reason for living, I guess. Like, you should be keeping your loved ones in your memory, but, you shouldn't be living to be remembered.
Sure.
And I feel like you could teach that lesson better.
But that's a lesson about life. This is a lesson about death.
Okay, but you could apply the same logic later. I am justified here.
I get what you're saying. I just don't think you're properly applying what it's trying to say.
That's fair. I could be interpreting it too negatively, but I just have heard this, saying a lot about, you've only die once you've been forgotten or whatever, and it rubs me the wrong way.
I get that. Princess?
Her voice trembles.
I loved my grandmother.
I wait a moment for more, but when nothing comes, I answer with, I know, Twilight.
Even if she was a crazy, just horrible racist, I loved her.
Even if she was the reason for the extinction of the entire yak species.
Actually, yaks are not extinct.
No, but I was pretending that she, was a racist who eradicated a species,
Right, but there are yaks in the show.
She's some kind of Hitler.
It doesn't work.
It would work if you got the joke.
No, I get the joke, but the yaks are a species that are not eradicated in the show.
Yeah, they don't have any species that are eradicated for me to pull from, okay?
Well, maybe you could just come up with one that isn't in the show.
Penguins!
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Okay, just edit that together to make me say penguins.
So?
Her voice cracks and breaks.
Why can't I cry for her?
I scoot over and pull her close with a wing. Maybe because you are trying to remain strong for your parents, or your brother, or maybe because you don't properly know how you feel yet, or perhaps because you think it makes you look weak. I squeezed her softly with my wing. It's okay to cry, Twilight. And so she does, clinging to me with all her might while the tears are finally allowed out of their confinement.
And her robot strength crushes her body.
The tears pour down and short-circuit her robot body. I want to make a story about that called Robots Don't Cry.
Do robots dream of electric sheep?
Do robots cry in their electric sleep? If someone already made that story, then I would like some royalties, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, author of Robot Story. They roll down her cheeks and are shaken loose by the frequent sobs that rack her little body, and I join her in crying, sharing in the pain she feels by remembering all those lost. Author's note. Written in the span of about an hour based on my own real-life experiences, and almost completely unedited. Thanks to those people pointing out mistakes in the comments, winking, smiling Twilight emoji. Doodly doodly doo. Sorry to all of those that do not care for tragedy stories. I just had to get this off my chest. After 14 years of walking around with a tight feeling in my chest every time something reminded me of my grandmother, I finally found the strength I needed to cry and mourn her. Normally, I would say I hope you enjoyed the story, but that's not what I'm going to say here. Here, I will simply repeat Celestia's words. It is okay to cry.
You hear that, Wizzy?
And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And that was A Cleansing Tale by Caracaz. I told you, you can't make me cry on this podcast. I'm too strong.
Ugh.
You know who else is pretty strong, though?
No.
Me neither.
Oh.
But Luna's actually kind of badass, if you think about it.
Nah.
I wonder how much crying she had to do while she was locked in the moon by her sister.
Not a lot. She's just not a crier.
Well, hopefully she's as good at giving advice as Celestia is in Her Most Sacred Duty by Drunk Luna.
Duty.
Duty. All right. So sad, tragedy, slice of life. Nice.
Awesome. Love to hear it. I'm sure this will be completely fine. No waterworks will come out of me in this one. Certainly not for any specific reasons.
Well, I bet they won't because, I'm going to be doing this voice the entire time. Princess Luna landed outside.
No.
No, I'm not going to be doing that voice. Although it would be fitting.
Mm.
Her Most Sacred Duty by Drunk Luna. Chapter 1.
The only chapter.
Her Most Sacred Duty. Princess Luna landed outside Ponyville Hospital and teleported inside. She knew exactly where she was going, but her focus still shifted, slightly jarred by the overwhelming sense of loss that always seemed to fill this area of the hospital. The hallway smelled of alcohol, floor cleaner, sadness, and death. A stark contrast from the cheerful, bright colors and pictures that adorned the walls of the ward. Luna hated this place, and for the briefest of moments, she wished she had stayed on the moon. What a line. At least on the moon, foals barely old enough to speak didn't have to die.
No.
Yeah, this is going to be another baby pony death fic.
Fucking hell.
So that brings it up to at least a third of our episodes?
Definitely.
The alicorn sighed and continued down the hallway. Her destination was the fourth room on the right. Even before she opened the door, Luna could hear the sound of agonal breathing, a clear sign of a life's imminent departure. Doctors called it the death rattle for a reason.
Ooh.
Though Luna had heard the death rattle billions of times by now, the sound still tied her stomach in knots, especially when its source was a pony as young as the one in this room. She knew she didn't have much time. She needed to get to work. Sighing heavily, Luna magically opened the door, closed her eyes, and entered the dream realm. Luckily, the foal's dream was the first one she saw. The little filly was bouncing around a meadow, healthy and happy. She spotted a pink and white butterfly and chased it through a field of fragrant pink peonies, laughing as she rolled among the flowers.
Sweetie Belle.
Luna called. The filly's ears perked, and she raised her head at the sound of Luna's voice.
Princess Luna, you're here.
Sweetie squealed.
Wait, I thought you only came into Pony's nightmares.
Usually I do.
Luna said, swallowing the pony-sized lump in her throat.
Oh my gosh, she ate someone.
She was just in someone's nightmare, and she ate them.
Vor.
Have you seen the meme with the friggin' Jerry shaped like a piece of cheese, and it says like, he ate that cheese or something?
I don't think so.
That's just what I'm picturing right now. It's like, it was Jerry from Tom and Jerry, if you didn't know what I meant.
Okay. But I wanted to give an extra special dream to one of my favorite fillies tonight. Now, how about some ice cream? What's your favorite flavor?
Sweetie said.
I like cookies and cream.
Grinning, Luna created a giant bowl of cookies and cream ice cream, which Sweetie Belle dove into. After the filly had eaten her way to the bottom of the bowl, Luna cleaned Sweetie off and asked her about her favorite kind of cake.
Chocolate!
Sweetie squealed, giggling. Luna created a giant chocolate cake with the most delicious frosting Sweetie had ever tasted. As Sweetie finished her cake, Luna lay down in the soft, cool grass and motioned for Sweetie to join her.
Now,
Luna said,
why don't you give me a list of things that you have always wanted to do? What is your greatest dream?
Sweetie thought for a second.
To have my cutie mark. Be an alicorn princess and live in a huge castle with my family and all my friends, like you.
Sweetie said.
All right.
Luna said with a nod.
Then an alicorn you shall be. Stand still, little one.
Sweetie's mouth dropped open as Luna sent a glittering swirl of magic from her horn. The magic lifted Sweetie upward. After Sweetie had reached the ground, she shook her head, confused.
Come and stand next to me, Princess Sweetie Belle. This evening you shall reign alongside me as co-princess of the night.
Sweetie's eyes widened, and she gasped as she turned her head and noticed her brand new pair of wings.
There is more. You also get your very own crown and necklace. But first, try out your wings.
Luna encouraged the filly. Sweetie spread her wings and flew in a graceful circle, then landed next to Luna, who conjured a white crown and a matching necklace, which both glittered with huge diamonds and were decorated with a pink rose.
They're beautiful, Princess Luna. But why is there a rose on the front of my regalia?
Sweetie asked. Luna smiled warmly.
No reason.
Why don't you look over your shoulder and find out for yourself?
Sweetie gasped as she looked at her flank, where a pink rose, which looked exactly like the one on her crown and necklace, had just appeared. Tears filled the filly's eyes as she realized that her most fervent wish had come true. She had finally received her cutie mark. She took a step forward, and a pale pink rose grew where she had just stood. Sweetie took another step, and a white rose appeared. Then the filly spread her wings and took off, leaving a fragrant trail of pink and white roses on the ground beneath her. Soon, Sweetie had created a meadow full of fresh roses. Luna took a deep breath and blinked to conceal her own tears.
And now, your castle, Princess Sweetie Belle.
Luna proclaimed. With one sweep of her horn, Luna created a magnificent, giant castle in the colors of Sweetie's mane, complete with a moat and drawbridge. Sweetie flew inside, and Luna followed.
Well, Princess,
Luna said with a smile.
what is your first royal decree?
I decree that Rarity, Scootaloo, and Apple Bloom shall become princesses too, and that Apple Bloom and Scootaloo shall receive their cutie marks.
Sweetie decreed. With a nod, Luna conjured Sweetie's sister and best friends, turned all three ponies into alicorns, and adorned Scootaloo's and Apple Bloom's flanks with their cutie marks. A scooter and an apple blossom. Luna was touched that Sweetie's final wish had not been for herself, but for the happiness of her sister and friends. So does that mean that those ponies are in her dream with her? Like they can all see this in their sleep?
I mean, maybe if they're asleep.
Yo!
But, who's to say?
I wasn't sure if she could actually like bring other people into other people's dreams like that.
She can.
Yes!
But, I don't think she actually has done it here. I think it's just
Aw,
a dream.
that would have been nice though.
Yeah, let them say goodbye.
Suddenly, a lapse in the dreamscape told Luna that it was nearly time for her to perform her hardest, most sacred duty for Sweetie Belle. The filly also seemed to know.
Am I about to go home?
Sweetie asked.
Yes, little one.
Luna replied softly as she felt the heat of tears behind her eyes. This would never, ever get easier for her. But she also felt honored to play a role in these moments. She quickly conjured the rest of Sweetie Belle's family and friends. Sweetie ran up to her parents first, oblivious to what was taking place. Luna had just done the impossible. Yes, this was a dream, but she had pulled Sweetie's family and friends from the waking world so that they were actually physically present and aware of everything that was happening. So she did do it.
Well, shucks.
I was hoping that she would actually do that, because that's like that's a lot better than just creating clones in her dream.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. So if I dream about someone, is that dream are they a clone?
They're your interpretation of that person manifested through your subconsciousness.
So you're saying yes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yay.
And then you can eventually upgrade them to a tulpa. Their last memories of their daughter, sister, and friend would not consist of a sick foal lying gray and motionless. Instead, they would always remember Sweetie Belle this way, as the vivacious, beautiful filly she was before Cancer had stolen her from them. So is Cancer like a big crab monster in My Little Pony?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It very well might be.
It sounds like it actually could be.
That's where the rarity versus giant crab meme comes from. That's the whole thing. Okay, Sweetie Belle's parents.
Yeah.
I'll be mom, you be dad.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
We love you, sweetie.
All right. Her parents whispered, squeezing the filly tightly.
Be good, little sister. Watch over us, okay?
Rarity sniffled a bit, pulling Sweetie into a hug. Suddenly, from the distance, 2 healthy, strong unicorns approached Sweetie. They looked so young, but Sweetie still instantly knew who they were.
Grandma! Grandpa!
Sweetie gasped. She and Rarity ran to hug them. But Luna stopped both fillies. So does Grandma mean Granny Smith or other Granny?
Well, Granny Smith is an apple, so definitely not.
Oh, I'm stupid. I forgot this was an apple bloom.
You will see them again when your time comes, Rarity. Don't be such a fuckhead.
This is Sweetie's moment.
You a dick.
Luna said gently.
But now I must escort Sweetie Belle to her eternal home.
Gently draping her wing over Sweetie Belle, Luna walked the filly to an ornate pair of gates, which immediately opened up for Sweetie. The filly gave Luna one final little smile. Then she turned and ran to her grandparents, who lovingly embraced Sweetie as they welcomed her into the beautiful light beyond the gates. Her parents and sister returned to the land of the living. Luna's eyes overflowed with tears as the gates closed. A sob ripped through her usually stoic facade, and she bowed her head, momentarily allowing herself to grieve. Luna's entire body shook with the force of her sobs, and she gasped for air, falling to her knees. She and Sweetie Belle had always been close, as they had bonded over the fact that they both had sisters who made them feel overshadowed. This loss was uniquely painful for the Princess of the Night. Luna simultaneously dreaded and relished these heartbreakingly precious moments. Parents should never have to outlive their foals. But Luna always did her best to make these transitions, far too many of which she had seen during her long reign, pleasant and easy for the little ones who had reached the end of their all-too-short lives. She had ushered countless foals into the afterlife after they had been starved, neglected, abused, and, more frequently, after they had valiantly fought a long illness, as Sweetie had done. Luna felt a tiny pang of envy as she pondered the fact that her older sister would never know the pain that was such a common occurrence in Luna's role as guardian of dreams. With a sad sigh for the little life that had just been snuffed out, Luna collected herself and teleported back to the dream realm. The night was still young, and there were many more dreamers in need of guidance and protection from their princess. Author's note: if you've made it this far, thank you so much for reading. In the spirit of this story, I actually recorded myself singing this song, imagining Luna singing it to these foals. Definitely one of the most emotionally difficult recordings I've made. I hope this captures the essence of the story. And they got a link to their song on Smule. I remember that site.
And you can't find it.
And that was Her Most Sacred Duty by Drunk Luna. All right, so what did we think of these two stories?
Well, they were actually fairly different from each other in the saddest of ways.
That's kind of true.
One was about mourning an old, already dead woman. The other was about comforting a dying child.
Yeah. But I really feel like both stories kind of captured the essence of Luna's and Celestia's roles as like teachers to their citizens and whatnot.
Yeah.
Kind of captured that really well with the unique way of using Luna's dream state to do this, and then of course using Twilight, her student, for the other one.
Yeah. It works as well because Luna does like mentor the CMC at
Oh,
least a little bit.
oh, is that why it was her and the CMC in Midnight Hour? Witching Hour, my bad.
I don't think so. Well, maybe, but I think that's probably just a coincidence.
Okay. I wasn't sure how prominent their relationship would be.
Fairly prominent.
Okay. Man, that makes this one extra sad.
Yeah, these two stories definitely did hit. I think the second one hit a bit more than the first one, but that's probably just because of the, child.
Yeah. Felt like there's a lot of good lessons in the first one we read. It was a lot more about like the act of dealing with grief, once again using Twilight and Celestia like in A Moment's Worth. But I feel like both those stories have like different lessons that you can learn about loss and grieving.
Yeah.
Although this isn't as impactful, I guess, for me as A Moment's Worth, I definitely think that A Cleansing Tale is by no means, it just like, it did everything that it was setting out to do. It felt really good about that.
Yeah.
Except I do have like one complaint.
Oh?
In the beginning, the whole setup with her just being like, Celestia, my grandma died, felt a little, I don't know if they were going just for her being kind of emotionless in that moment, but it felt like they rushed it a bit, you know?
I guess, yeah.
It came off that way when I read it.
I think it was supposed to be like, she isn't crying yet. So I think it's.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, but I feel like they could have indicated that better, because when I was reading it, I didn't know exactly where Twilight was in her emotional state and everything, and for me, it just came off that way when I first read it.
Sure. Makes sense.
Did you have anything more to say about A Cleansing Tale?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Yeah, you covered a lot of that. Wow.
I know, I was kind of like rushing a bit. I was just kind of vomiting.
That's fair.
Yeah, I feel like her most sacred duty in the way that it differed was this felt a lot more like it wasn't like trying to teach a lesson or anything. There's no lesson to be really learned here. It's more just about how horrible death can be sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
And how unfair things like cancer are.
Yeah. Man, Princess Luna has to do that a lot, huh? That's...
Yeah. I wonder if she has to do it for every filly and foal or whatever, or if she picks and chooses.
Well, I don't know, but I guess she's sort of like the Grim Reaper, if you think about it.
Oh, that's actually true.
Guiding souls into the afterlife.
Dang. Just like Fluttershy.
Yep.
All right. I think that wraps everything up here tonight. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
I have been your host. A good night.
Good night, everybody.
See ya. We're recording another episode of the Sexy Gals podcast,
Whoop
where
whoop.
we talk about non-stop babes.
Love it. I liked the first Babe movie, but the second Babe movie
Pig in the
was
City.
perfection.
It was amazing.
One of the best movies of all time. I actually haven't seen it, but I hear it is one of the best movies of all time. No, I have seen it. I just haven't seen it in a long time.
I'm pretty sure that my sister had that on VHS. I can't remember if it was that or only the original Babe, though, but I definitely remember watching those when I was a kid.
Yeah. I should watch them again.
Woo, Babe watch-a-thon for Valentine's Day.
Let's
We
go.
can say we're watching Babes for Valentine's Day.
Oh, shoot. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, all
I
right.
was so happy for all the couples in my area because they get all this snow on Valentine's Day. I'm so happy for them. So glad that they have someone to spend this day with.